Hello, hi, my name is Fawnde. This is my second DM diary based on my second game of D&D. A lot happened this session. A lot of fun stuff. Uh, my players have most definitely surprised me and went off track of what I thought. So I'm going to basically recap some of the things. I've actually made little bullet points here so I don't get distracted and rant as much as normal. So where we left off last time, the players were more or less. There's a bug on the wall. Hold on, it's a little ant, I think. I got it. Okay, sorry, we're back at it. My players more or less left off being captured by Kronos the Shamed and spared, and they're being led by basically the experimental scientist named Spark. She was leading them to be what Kronos called getting muzzled. If you don't know what muzzled is, it's what they do to dogs. Basically, the players would have known that they're about to be hindered in some way. And I didn't think the players would, but I thought it was a possibility. Spark she's a gloomy, depressed, very shy kind of character who I thought the players might see the opportunity to attack her and try to escape. So I was playing up Spark where she was scared of them, not wanting to mess with them, very shy, and more or less nervous. The players did not attack her. They did ask her a few questions, and they did get a little bit aggressive. Not really aggressive, but domineering and asking questions and such. So they did. I think they caught on to what was going on, but they decided, probably for the best, not to try and escape. Because they probably wouldn't have. I highly doubt there was almost no timeline in which they got out. So they get led down by Spark down these stairs. They're asking questions about what's going to happen, blah blah. Spark's not saying much. She's scared, nervous. She's actually trying to outpace them to get away from them, until eventually she leads them down to this big experiment room that has this big circle in the middle, like a magic circle. There's 3 statues. In the center of the room, there is this basically altar. Imagine an altar where you get baptized at. In the center is this little bowl with liquid in it. It's this blue liquid that is basically glowing, and it's pulsating and making this aura of a force field go out around the circle. Virtually, I explained it as this is wild magic that's been out of control, that is currently being, controlled by this altar or used for a purpose. They've already encountered a little bit of wild magic thanks to the player Kira in the session 0.5s when they accidentally interrupted a priest group and caused magic to go out of hand. So that happened. Anyway, they go in there. Spark pulls out some technology. It's this weird sense of a tablet and modern technology. And she's setting up this stuff until eventually, more or less, the water boils, comes out, and it snakes away through the sky until it wraps around everyone's necks. Then the statues come alive, and they basically, much like magma does in water, turn the liquid into stone, but instead of stone, it's metal. And so more or less now, there was this weird way to make them basically have a huge collar around their neck, like a slave would. And Spark ended up asking them some questions like, what's your birthday? What's your name? What's your true name? Most of them did not say I don't think, no one said their true name unless they don't have another name. And some people don't have a true name. I should say, in my name, a true name is very powerful for anyone who casts magic. A true name virtually can nullify most of a wizard or connection to magic of anyone. It can sever the connection to a god. True names are very important. I've taken that one from Matt Colville, actually. And some of my players, more or less, just ask these questions. She inputs it into their collar, lets them go. They rightfully so are trying to figure out what the hell this thing does, but they can't really negotiate with these people because they don't trust them. And it's much more fun to not. They're not going to tell them why or what these collars do, because why would they do that? The collar's meant to limit them. So why tell them what it does so they can prepare for it, So now the players have no idea what these collars do. And if they try and do something, they literally have no idea what this means. Is it a bomb around their neck? Is it a way to control them? Can they listen into them? They did actually ask if I could listen in on what they're doing, which they didn't have a proper answer for. But that happens, and they end up going up to being led up to a meeting. But as they're leaving this room, Kira, who's played by Mo5, decides, I'm going to try and get a vial of this liquid that is in the center, this out-of-hand magic liquid. And, I didn't expect anyone to do this. I should have, because I'm someone who would do stuff. I like collecting stuff. I should have thought about it. But I didn't think they would, because this is out-of-hand magic that is, very dangerous. But no, Kira pours out her Phoebe juice, which is like a healing potion kind of thing, and goes to do a vial. So I'm like, all right, this is not good. Not because they can't have this, but because this is super freaking dangerous, and it should, in theory, actually kill them. So I'm like, okay, roll a death save, because the liquid is going up and down. It's not just stationary. It's pulsating up and down, moving. So I'll make a death save to see how well you can, get your hand in there, scoop this liquid up without the liquid touching you. And after I said that, I said to Mo5, I'm like, hey, you can back out of this right now. You don't have to make this death save. You can just decide not to do it, because you don't have to make a death save. You can decide not to do it. He decided to go through with it anyway. So Kira puts her hand to get that, rolls a 9 for a death save. 9 is not good enough. I could have maybe made an excuse to myself to make a 10 work, but a 9 is not good enough. So liquid touches her hand, and as soon as it touches her hand, it basically goes up her arm, because it's rising, it goes up her arm. And so I go use the restroom, I don't know what the hell I'm going to get to happen. Because this is out-of-hand magic that is extremely dangerous. So I'm like, normally this would be a death sentence, I think, depending on how it goes. And it potentially could have became one if bad enough rolls are made. But all right, I come back, I'm like, Kira, make a con save, and I think it was basically a spell casting save. So she made a con save. I think con save was a 12 or something. It wasn't super low, but it wasn't very good. So her hand that she's stuck in there just starts melting. All the flesh melts off. It's showing her hands, her bones with bits of fleshes. So it's not even third degree. It's worse than third degree burns. It just melts off, and it's awful. And then the next part is, this is high magic, so the magic is now trying to invade her body. Now, thankfully, thank God that that the spell save roll was a nat 20. The nat 20 made it where she managed to cut off the magic surge at her wrist, so it wouldn't go up. If it would have went up into her, it could have potentially ruined her as a spellcaster for the rest of her life. It could have fried all the magic arteries and veins. So I don't think they realized how much danger was there, and maybe I felt maybe I didn't do a good enough job of explaining how dangerous it was. But I hope that maybe this is a lesson where it's not. I hope that so in Mo5's game, I broke one of my arms. I hope no one's like, oh yeah, that's just revenge from the DM. No, it's actually I was I was very generous. I didn't expect them to do something so foolish. But due to bad rolls, it almost ended up being a disaster. It kind of is a disaster. Now their hand is melted. Eventually later on, they go to one of the priests that are in the area named Riolo. She tries to heal it. She manages to heal it enough where it's not as raw and sensitive as it was, but it's still messed up. If it's not taken care of, it's going to be infected. But the reason it can't be cured is because all that magic is inside of her hand. So until that magic is dispelled by a powerful wizard, they're not going to be able to heal her hand. So her hand is going to cause issues with doing stuff with disadvantage on trying to grab things. Maybe every now and then it'll be a penalty to try and use it to attack. So there's a lot of issues that come with it. And she's very lucky that there's not any magic issues because she rolled that nat 20. So she doesn't have to worry about her magic being penalized. But that was very bad. After that, they go up to a meeting where basically I'm introducing the Hands of Orbitus. all the 12 most important NPCs plus Kronos the Shamed, who's the big bad guy of this organization. Basically, their bosses, the big nasties, the strongest people they've met. All 12 of them are in this room having a meeting. There's some tension. I'm role playing it out, and they're basically saying things that they've each been ordered to look after things and do things. And I'm basically saying what's going on. And there's like I'm every time I say something, it's like I'm throwing a plot hook. Here's the plot hook. These hobgoblins have invaded Trundle. Maybe we should look at that. The marshes are dangerous. I've done all these plot hooks, and at the end of the session, I go back and I look at everyone's notes. And I'm like, oh great, not a one of them wrote any of these plot hooks down. And I can't really fault them, not taking notes. It's kind of hard, and it's kind of hard to keep up with everything. I get it, It's gonna be an awkward day though, whenever plot hooks are missed, and they weren't necessarily super important plot hooks, but they would have been like things that were helpful. So it's not like end of the world at all. It was just things that would have been helpful for them later on. So it's just their loss, really. So we get out of that. They're leaving, and they get surprise attacked by Boltitude. Boltitude is a huge guardian bear folk who's like 8 feet tall. He ambushes the party. He's super racist to humans. He ambushes the party, basically beats the hell out of Stavros, which is the human leader of their group. Beats him up, says things like, "You humans and your arrogance. You think you're invincible, but you're not." He basically is being racist and warning him that he would kill him, and he's lucky that Kronos the Shamed wants to keep him alive. Then he also, threatens the party, calls them human lovers, because the humans of Kadoi, which is where they're located, are human-centric. They're super racist. If you're a non-civilized race, basically it's kill on sight or slave. If you're a civilized race or less civilized, which is like elves, dwarfs, gnomes, anything like that, they tolerate you, but they're still racist to you. So basically, Boltitude was calling them out for siding or working with a human. Basically, no better than them. So that was a nice introduction to showing some reverse. Like usually it's the other four who are being criticized, but this time to show that the humans also are hated by many other races. After that, they go up to meet Kronos the Shamed. They're coming up here because it turns out that the tailor that they ordered to come here got killed in a bandit attack on a caravan. And Kronos the Shamed seems very, very peculiar about wanting to have uniforms and standards made. And he got very mad. He shattered a wine glass. He showed a lot of emotion. He was very angry about it. So he's going to send them on a mission to go up to Port Crevice and retrieve. Port Crevice is about a week and a half travel away. And basically, they're going to bring back and escort a tailor by any means necessary. That means, firstly, they can try and negotiate with money, but if that doesn't work, they have to blackmail, they have to kidnap. It does not matter what, they are to bring the tailor back alive and a working tradition. So that's one of the quests he gives them. He also gives them the quest to basically send the last regards to the 3 soldiers they killed getting into the fort. And he also gives them the optional quest of if they run into the bandits who fucked up the first tailor, that they need to basically punish them for their ignorance with who they were messing with. So basically they were given 3 missions. At the same time, they were introduced to this kobold named, his name's Francis. He's this weird kobold with his long neck, and he has this tongue that sits out. And he's the guy who's been around forever, and just, he writes down everything. He takes information on everyone. He knows people's favorite colors, when they bathe. He knows what kind of women, men, or monsters they like. He doesn't really understand the leadership, so he's kind of all over the place. Kind of a comical character who's been introduced, who's basically their boss now. He's their regional manager is the official title that Kronos gave him. But he's this comical character who's basically their boss, that is to oversee, and they're supposed to report to him. So basically he's in charge of them, oversee what they're doing. So they're introduced to him, obviously, a bunch of roleplay stuff. And they're basically told to go talk to the Mistress of Affairs to be properly debriefed on their mission. They go to see Fritzy, who is the virtually the Mistress of Affairs, to which she gives them all the details. She hands them a dossier, which is for Newt, who's played by Un, to basically keep up and write down, basically chronicle all the things that happen to them. So they can report back every week. I do want to say that Un is the one player that pays attention the least, or seems to like not catch stuff the most, or sometimes they catch stuff but then they misremember it and they believe like something that didn't actually happen. So I was like virtually gave it to the worst player to handle it, but it is what it is. It'll probably cause some funny situations, I'm sure. Maybe not. So they basically get information. They're in this library, so we're in Stavros's, like, he's all about knowledge, so he's interested in finding all these books. He's trying to find books. He's having a hard time. He manages to find a cookbook on how to cook goblins, briefly. And more or less from there, they need to go talk to Jusura. Jusura is a bugbear who's in charge, a sleepy bugbear who's in charge of financials. And they're to go get money for basically their missions. They go in there, and I thought that they might get greedy. There's this weird level of heroics and villainy with the party. There's like, at certain times, it's like they understand their limits, and they're like, okay, we need to be normal people. And other times, they're like, all right, we're going to be freaking weird. So they go in here, Jusura's sleeping, there's money all over the place, the safe's open. They could easily have tried to sneak in there and take some money, which I planned for them to try and do. Of course, they decided not to. They decided to actually wake him up, which I role played out that he was surprised because it was a trap by Jusura. Jusura was he was asleep, but he can, he has ways to know. So it was a setup, and they managed to avoid it by being good people. And they were given the funds. They were given a total of 75 gold Rihdarian coins, which is 10 times as much. A gold coin is worth 10 gold coins in normal D&D in my game. So basically, 1 gold coin in my game is worth 100 silver. Then 1 silver is worth 100 copper. So, there's a bit of money thing there. Money is very valuable. And so the players get given the 75 Rihdarian minted coins for their mission. And Jusura basically tells all of them to give all of their money to him. They all, actually, every single one of them gave all of their money to him without trying to keep any of it, which I was kind of surprised by. But I was like, okay, that works. And in return, Jusura gives them a scroll of revivification and 5 coins back. So basically, they gave up all their money so I could basically switch the currency of it. And they got a really, really, really valuable asset in a scroll of revivification, because they do not have a cleric. They barely have a healer. So like that's something big. So, that's Johnson. And that was given by the Grand Strategist Alomi, who is taking a liking to them. So they did that, blah, blah. Basically, they finish up all this stuff, and they run back into Francis. Francis is like, here you go, hands him a device to communicate. He tells Newt that he needs to basically communicate with him every week. So they're to report back in every in-game week on the Day of the Cat. So basically they're like a little military group, and they have to go off and do these missions. And Francis says, okay, here, take this. And then he opens up a door and pushes them outside and says, all right, you're not allowed to sleep here. We don't trust you. And shuts the door. And now they're off in the wilderness, and it's about to be nighttime. So virtually they've been kicked out, which I thought was a humorous way to get them out of there. So by this point, I'm like, thank God they're out of the tutorial, more or less. They're out of the mountain. They're out of the plot hook. Because all of that was virtually like, hey, this is the plot hook. This is the start of our game, the plot hook. I wrote all this in the overview when I asked you if you'd be interested in playing this game. So like, this was all like plot. This was stuff that you already knew was going to happen. So we're finally out of this. Now we're off into the real shit. And as soon as they left, I stopped, and I broke character. I'm like, guys, I'm going to warn you as your DM. You need to consider running away and negotiating as a tactic in the foreseeable future. And you need to think smart, and you need to not be foolhardy and stand to the death. You need to know your limits. Otherwise, you guys are going to die. That's basically what I told them. And then I said, the world's not built for them. The world is built how the world's built. And if they go somewhere that they're not ready for, or if they go somewhere they are ready for, but there's another part that they're not ready for, if they don't think, plan, and be careful, man, I don't want to kill them, but I mean, because they put a lot of work into these characters. I don't want to kill them, but that's why I warn them. I don't want to kill them, so I warn them. At this point, it's on them, you know? If they do something dumb, they almost died. I mean, to be quite frank, literally not even 5 minutes later. Well, it is 5 minutes. Not 5 minutes later, there's this encounter, which they just about died in. I warned them, and they almost die right away. You know, that would have been awkward, wouldn't it have been? Well, let me get to that point. So they're outside, they're planning, they're going on their mission, and they remember a place to camp. It's getting dark. And they approach this place to camp, and so 3 of them have dark vision, 2 of them do not. So we have a gnome, a salamander-ish race, and a elf. All have dark vision. And then we have a lizard folk and a human. Don't have dark vision, and they're not walking with a light. But they get to this camp zone, and they see the lights are already there. There's already people camping. So obviously they talk about it. They plan. They're like, okay, let's just see what's up. They go and see. I forget. You know, I had to retcon because I knew DM stuff. I forgot to say important information. But as they went up to investigate, they ended up seeing these guards, and they were the same people they were following the first time. So let me give a quick summary. So the party, the reason they got here is because they were part of the hidden chain, which was the group that's hunting down Kronos, and they were following these 15 men to see what they're all about. And these 15 men came off into near Mount Matrod, where they lost sight of them, and then that's how my party ended up getting up in the mountain, and you know all this shit's happened to them. So now they come back, and they've actually refound the same men they were following, and they're now camping. Now I did expect for this to become a combat. The problem is, it didn't go how I wanted it to. I was actually worried because I was like, whenever they started planning stuff out and thinking about it, I was like, oh no, I didn't think this through enough. This will be a super, super, super easy encounter for them. At least like the first few rounds will be super easy for them if they engage in the darkness. Because all the guards are humans, so they cannot see into the darkness. They can see their camp light, but they cannot see out of it. But the 3 dark vision users can see, actually all of them can see, everyone who's in the darkness can see them. So it would have been very, very easy for them to range attack them and do a lot of damage early on. But that's not what happened. That is not what happened. And I'll be damned if the worst, this was actually, I didn't say anything to them about this. I have a bad problem of over-explaining myself, or like I get really excited. I'm like, this is why they did this and that, and I just explain everything, and it gets rid of the magic of it. So I didn't say anything. I didn't warn anyone. I didn't say anything, and I didn't explain why this happened either. But this, I'll be damned if I didn't warn them about how dangerous it's going to be, and that I'll be damned if they did not literally perform the absolute worst sequence of events that I've ever seen in my life. Maybe from their point of view, it made a little bit more sense, but from my point of view, it made almost no sense. Almost no sense. So let me run you through this absolutely hideous encounter. It was really good for me. Basically, I had a blast because they walked right into my hands. So a little bit of background information. Each of my players has a rank. They're basically a little squad. So there's a leader. They had ranks they could choose from. There's a commander. There's a strategist. There's a treasurer. There's a communication archivist, and there is what's the other one? There's a medic. That's what it is. So the commander is Stavros the human. So they kind of listen to him. You know, he calls the shots. You know, there's a certain line of role play where they listen to him and do what he says. At this point, we were also down a player because one player had to leave, so they came back later, but they were gone at this moment. So they're talking, planning this out, and they're like, and one of the guards, he comes out into the darkness near the river because he's pulled down his pants like he's going to pee, but then he decides to drink water. So he's drinking water. So this gives, he can't see in the dark, mind you. So this gives the party a chance to take someone out initially. But they decide, which made sense. But Stavros is telling the party, he's like, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to attack this guy. And he's basically 2 of them go up, and you're going to pull him to the water. The lizard folk jumps, Swills, or aka Hawkins, the lizard folk, is led by Newt, because lizard folk don't have dark vision, so he's led by another party member. He gets in the water, swims underwater, and then once he gets under the guard, he pulls the guard into the water, and basically, more or less, they basically get him back pretty easily. At this point, I've set up a timer on my phone. I'm like, okay, these guards aren't dumb. There's going to be a certain amount of time until they start coming looking for their buddy. I think at this point, I need to split up how I'm going to explain this. So I'll first tell you what the party under Stavros's lead was planning on happening. So they captured this guy. They're asking him questions. They tie him up, blah, blah, blah. They tie him up. They don't even roughhouse him. They tie him up, and he's just in the dark because he can't see. He's a human. He can't really see. And Stavros intimidates him pretty easily. And Stavros more or less says, he actually intimidates him and gives him a golden coin to bribe him. So really good start. Really good start in general. And he asks the men, he says, you're not going to scream, right? You understand? And obviously the guy is terrified. He's not going to be like, I'm going to freaking scream. So he's like, I won't scream. And they untie his mouth, blah, 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 whatever. And then Stavros says, all right. He asks a few questions. They explain what they're doing there. They explain that they were given a mission to go to Mount Trot and retrieve some treasure. Blah, blah, blah. That's all he really says. He has no reason to really tell them more because Stavros seems to be amicable and seems like, nothing bad's going to happen yet, but he's still scared. So he says a little bit of information, and then Stavros says, this is what's going to happen. You're going to lead us back into the camp, and we're going to stay with you tonight. And we're going to say that there was a monster, and we saved you from the monster out in the woods. And so they get one of the mages to prestidigitation, and it makes this nasty-sounding monster noise out in the distance as a cover story, which is a good idea. Of course, this poor human guard who can't see in the dark agrees. He agrees with it. He's like, all right, yeah, I'll lead you there and I won't say anything. You can sleep with us tonight. Now, this should be where, in my mind, in at least someone in the party is going to be like, why are we actually trusting this guy's word? Like, why would this guy actually go in there and not say anything? Just because he's terrified right now, and of course he's going to agree with us. So why aren't we doing? No one insight checked. No one investigated his words. No one really did. All they did was intimidate him, and basically they trusted his word, which was a fatal mistake. A fatal mistake. So more or less, this guard's like, yeah, I'll help. This is fine. I'll be quiet, and you guys can come stay with us. Because he wants to live. So they're offering. They are offering to take him back to their camp to where all of his friends are. So he's like, yes, I'll do that. So he leads them. They light a torch. It leads them into the camp, where they're met. Now, this is where I'm going to explain why this plan would not work in a million fucking years, and why the players made a fatal mistake by not checking if this guy was serious or not. This was their fault. I don't know if they realized that this was their fault, because they might feel like it was my fault, like I forced it upon them. But this situation was their fault, and let me explain why. So there is a camp of guards. There's a camp of guards right by a river. There's two guards standing on the outside. This guy who went to the river, another one. So they wouldn't have heard this, but the guy who went to the river would be like, hey guys, I'm going to go down to the river right over here, 10 feet away, drink some water, and I'll be right back. So first and foremost, they know where he's going. They know he shouldn't be long. And they know that he's right there. So whenever he comes back, whenever he comes back into the camp and the players are with him and they say, man, there was this nasty monster out there in the forest and we just saved this man and we were wondering if we could stay here with you. We just saved his life. And whenever the guard's nodding yes, that's red flags to everyone else, because this guy didn't go off into the forest. He walked 10 feet away in the dark to where the river was. And he's also soaking wet. Um, and he's just agreeing with these he basically brings these 5 strangers in, and he's like, they're cool. He's like, they're nice people. Like, I don't know, maybe it's only me. I mean, I think you all should be able to see, like, okay, this is red alert right now. Like, this makes no freaking sense. This guard didn't go off into the forest. He's been gone for a few minutes. He's been gone for longer than he should have been, actually. And let's come back with you strangers. Next up, something the players don't know, but I know. These are hired guards. They're on a mission. They were given a mission to retrieve this box of treasure, and they have this letter. They go to the place, they got the treasure, and they're coming back. And in the letter it says, do not trust anyone who approaches you. They're probably after the treasure. And it more or less says, be sure to kill them. Because they're worried that that there are people out to get their treasure. So they're 4 days, these people, they're 4 days off into the wilderness. And out of nowhere, this group of 5 people comes out of nowhere with their friend guard, who's now soaking wet, acting a little bit strange, who shouldn't have been off in the forest and where this monster sound was, whatever these people were saying. So this is not 1, not 2, but 3 different red flags. Now, the thing is, these are red flags, but these guards, might be hired guards, but they're not dumb. So the leader of the band says, all right, we appreciate you. Come on in. Just come sit by the fire. You can stay here tonight. He hardly asked any questions. He asked, why are you guys out here? But he didn't really inquire anything. He just said, come inside. And the players walk right in between all the guards, right to the dead center of their camp, and they're now surrounded by guards. Now, I didn't want to make it super easy where it's like they're going to kill them, but I was like, so I got the guard to start asking Stavros, the leader, some questions. And the guard was rolling insight checks on him. He rolled pretty high insight on the first time I trusted him, but I made him ask again because he wouldn't have trusted these people easily, so I made him ask one more time. And whenever he asked that second time, he had a really bad insight roll. So with that really bad insight roll, he ended up believing that these people were here for the treasure, so he engaged. So due to even though they weren't actually there to beat them up, the guard captain, or like the hired mercenary captain, believed they were. So he more or less did a signal. All the guards recognized it because they've been prepared for a potential attack because it was in part of their mission details. So they all stand up, and now it's initiative. They're now surrounded by about 7 or 8 different guards. There's 5 of them. There are 7 or 8 different guards, literally all surrounding them. Now, if this was a combat off in the darkness, it would have been super easy. But no, they decided to walk right into the camp, into basically this camp of people without any information, with a really weak story, and they trusted this guy who they bribed with 1 gold coin and scared a little bit. And the last most damning piece of knowledge is that these are the same people that they've been following for the last week and a half. They've been following them for the last week and a half. They have not approached them. They've not talked to them. They've been following them at a distance to figure out what they're all about because in their mission, they thought that they might be working for Kronos or something. But now that they're out here, they just decide, hey, let's not worry about the fact that we've been following them for a few weeks for some reason. So they might be dangerous, or they might have some secret stuff about them. But let's forget all of that, and let's just walk right into their camp and act buddy-buddy, because these are definitely normal people with nothing weird going on. Not like we haven't been following these guys for a couple of weeks. I get it. I get that maybe they are normal people, but I mean, wouldn't you want to think twice because you've been following them for a couple of weeks and there's probably something weird about them? Why else would a secret anti-terrorist group think about that? So they're doing their initiative starts. It's a freaking bloodbath. The guards are rolling really well. They're not hard to kill, but you gotta think my party's level 1. They're outnumbered. They're getting the hell beat out of them. Some of them were already missing spell slots and HP from earlier in the day because they haven't rested yet. And I mean, shit, man, they're getting fucked. And the thing is, there are guards on the outside There are guards who are patrolling, which I announced. So there's patrolling guards who are coming in and out, and the patrolling guard comes in. It's like, oh shit, there's a fight. So the patrolling guard comes in. So more and more people are coming, and then they didn't shed the tents. So after a round of combat, I had 2 guards asleep in the tents. So after the second round of combat, these 2 guards climb out of their tents, like, what the hell's going on out here? And they join the fight. So now it's 5 versus like 10 or 9, something like that. And they don't retreat. They don't do anything. They just keep fighting. They keep fighting, it is a little bit close. I'm sure they felt like they could win, but they could have easily lost. Actually, they might have lost. They actually probably would have lost. Maybe not, but there's a high chance they would have lost if I had not prepared for this and had an NPC that was connected to one of the characters' backstories ready to jump in and save the day. So there's this really strong paladin who jumps in, Dragonborn paladin jumps in, basically saves the day, wipes up the end. He brings up all the fallen NPCs because the players have been going down, left, right. They're all in their last limbs. I was sitting here like, this is great. They're having fun. But these guys, I've just warned them not to act like idiots or consider running away and stuff. And they pulled off the worst thing imaginable in the first session. And they're literally on death's door. They would have died probably if I wouldn't have came in there and saved their lives. That's part of it though, I guess. I enjoyed it. I had fun. Then it comes to the end where they end up defeating them with the help of Jeffrey Silverscale, who was the NPC paladin who helped them. And then they tie up the leader and they tie up the one guy they bribed. But then, under the orders of Stavros, the leader, they mercilessly kill them. Even though they've all been defeated, they slit all of their throats. Jeffrey is not a fan of this, of course. And at the same time, Jeffrey's talking to his friend Kit and finds out that they just came back from where Kronos the Shamed is. So to Jeffrey, it's like they just talked to this big wanted man, and they came out alive. So odds are they're working with him, and now they're mercilessly killing these people who can't defend themselves because they've already been defeated. So Jeffrey starts backing away. He's like, these people are freaking evil. So Jeffrey's like backing away, and the players didn't really understand what was going on. But in Jeffrey's head, he was connecting the dots in the moment. He's like, these people just are related to a big evil person. They're mercilessly killing people. And Jeffrey's been following them too. So all this is clearing his head, and he's like, hell no. And he's about to start running. And at the same time, one of the guards who's in the restroom comes back. So now there's Jeffrey and a guard. And they both turn and they both run. So now the players have a choice. Are they going to go after Jeffrey or are they going to go after this guard? And they didn't, Stavros was like, okay, bye, Jeffrey. Thanks for the help. I was like, no, you're not understanding. Jeffrey's probably going to go, you don't understand. Jeffrey's a good paladin. What you guys have just done is fucked. He's probably going to go tell the churches, and you guys are going to be thrown together with Kronos to shame to be wanted. And they're like, wait, how'd I know this? I was like, because your character would assume this is a good paladin. I had to explain. I'm like, this is why your character would know this. Because it's like a common sense, why would Jeffrey be acting all afraid? Because this is what's going on around him. So they have to choose. They decided to split the party. 2 of them go after the top guard, 2 of them go after the Jeffrey, and 1 stays. And so they're doing these skill challenges. Skill challenges are supposed to be a group thing, but now you got 2 people doing a skill challenge where you need 5 successes or 3 failures. So it's really freaking hard. More or less, to keep it simple, the guard the hired guard who came back from restroom break, saw his friends dead, ran up north. He eventually got away. It was pretty close, to be fair. He got away. He jumped in the river and got swept away, and he got away. He might not survive the river, but he got away. Then the ones in the south, they actually caught Jeffrey because it was Kit, his friend, and Newt, and they managed to talk him out of it, kind of. They managed to pacify him. So now Jeffrey's came back to the place, and they're going to talk to him. And the last thing, I guess, is they found this, the treasure we basically had to stop, pull it off, because it was a 6-hour session. But they found this box that has a timer on it, which is the treasure that they have to do, so they have that. But all in all, it was a really fun session, but my God, were my players dumb. I hope they realize, like, they were following orders, and so many awful decisions were made. Like, it was actually awful. Like me as a DM watching that, I was like, me as a DM, I'm kind of sadistic, so I was like, this is so freaking good for me. But then I was also like, this is so freaking bad for me because I have to figure out how not to absolutely wipe the players with this. Because I was like, I don't want to just murder them. And I think if Jeffrey wouldn't have been there, I think there was at least an even chance that the players would have died. I don't think the guards would have killed them. I think the guards would have tied them up and they would become prisoners. But there's a high chance that they would have lost that fight. And they would have had hope that they would have shown that the guards who beat them would have shown mercy that they did not show to the guards that they beat. But that's about it. I had a really fun session. I think it's gonna get better. We can't play for 2 weeks, which kind of sucks. But I think there's gonna be a lot of fun. Whenever we get back, there's gonna be a lot. I'm gonna bring up a lot of moral dilemmas. Because I mean, that is some serious shit they just did. It's dangerous because it's understandable why they finished them off, because they were fighting them. But at the same time, they just slaughtered people who couldn't defend themselves after they're already defeated. So there's some more dilemmas going on. And they're finally off in the real world, so I'm very, very excited. Excited to basically do this. But I hope they learn. I hope they learn, and I can't expect them to just know right away. But I hope they start learning from these experiences that it's important for them to remember the information I tell them about how they were already following these people, and use that information. That they need to pay more attention to what I say, and that they need to really scout, plan, and think about what the hell they're doing. Because it's not going to get easier from here. It's probably going to get harder. It's going to get more dangerous. If they keep doing shit like they did that time, I don't know. I don't know how long they're going to live. I'll be honest. I don't know. It's something they'll learn over time, I guess. And they'll probably learn that I'm a pretty sadistic DM. So I don't try and bully them, but I don't show any mercy. So yeah, they it's on them. Anyway, I thank you for watching this. It'll probably be about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks till I get another one of these, as one of our players will be gone. Until then, I'll see you. If you want to check these out live, follow my Twitch, Fawnde Jester on twitch.tv. And you can see us every Tuesday, unless our days might be changing. I don't know. You can see us live there. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. It was a very fun session. I'll see you guys later.